Hi everyone and welcome to the part 3 of my ISC2 CC video series. In this video series, we are diving deep into the Certified in Cybersecurity Exam Preparation, breaking down the key concepts and providing in-depth explanation of the questions and answers. So in this video, we will be tackling about 45 practice questions and their explanation. So grab your notes and let's break down these questions to help you on your CC certification journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell for more content like this. So gear up and let's dive into the success. Question number 101. Which of the following is not a best practice in access management? And the options are: option A, give only the right amount of permission. Option B, periodically assess if user permissions still apply. Option C, request a justification when upgrading permission. And option D, trust but verify. And the correct option is option D, trust but verify is not a best practice in access management. Rather than the best practice in access management related to this phrase is never trust, and always verify. So you should never trust any device, any access request, even if it is from the internal network, but you should always first verify it. So trust but verify is not typically considered a best practice in access management. While it suggests a level of trust in users, access management best practices emphasizes minimizing risk by enforcing strict control. The other options, giving appropriate permissions, periodically reviewing permissions, and requiring justification for upgrades are all fundamental to ensuring secure and efficient access control. Question number 102. If a company collects PII, that is personally identifiable information, which policy is required? Option A, remote access policy. Option B, GDPR. Option C, privacy policy. And option D, acceptable use policy. And the correct option is, so we are talking about the private or personal information of the users or customer. So it is related to the privacy policy. GDPR also is about the PII, the collection of PII, but it is specific to European Union. While generally in any company, the policy that should be required and applied while collecting PII is privacy policy. So a privacy policy is required for a company that collects personally identifiable information, that is PII. This policy outlines how the company collects, stores, uses, and protects personal data. While GDPR, that is General Data Protection Regulation, may apply to companies operating in or dealing with data from the EU, the privacy policy is the document that specifically addresses PII handling practices. Question number 103. Which of these is least likely to be installed by an infection? And the options are: option A, logic bomb, option B, keylogger, option C, Trojan, and option D, backdoor. And the correct option is option A, logic bomb. So what is a logic bomb? So a logic bomb is least likely to be installed by an infection. It is a type of malware that is triggered by a specific condition or event, such as a particular date or action, rather than being installed as part of an ongoing infection. In contrast, keyloggers, trojans, and backdoors are more commonly installed by malware infections to allow for continuous access or monitoring. Question number 104. The best defense method to stop a replay attack is to option A, use an IPsec VPN. Option B, use a firewall. Option C, use password authentication. And option D, use message digesting. And the correct option is, so option A, use an IPsec VPN. So IPsec has multiple functionality including confidentiality through encryption, and it also protects against the replay attacks as well as integrity as well as authentication of the sender and receiver. The best defense against a replay attack is to use an IPsec VPN. IPsec provides encryption and authentication to ensure the integrity and freshness of the data being transmitted, preventing attackers from capturing and retransmitting valid communication that is replaying it. This protects against replay attacks by ensuring that only valid current messages are accepted. Question number 105. Which of these devices has the primarily objective of determining the most efficient path for the traffic to flow across the network? So we are actually talking about routing of the packets or routing of the data across the network. So which device is used to do this routing and flow of traffic across the network? And the options are option A, hubs, option B, firewalls, option C, routers, and option D, switches. And the correct option is option C, router. So router is primarily used for routing traffic across the networks, but modern switches also have the functionality of routing, and they are commonly known as layer 3 switches. Since routing is done at layer 3, so these switches are known as layer 3 switches. They also have the functionality of routing. Similarly, firewalls may also have the functionality of routing, but the routers are basically the type of device that is primarily used for routing, and that's why we call it router, the device that do routing. So routers have the primary objective of determining the most efficient path for traffic to flow across network. They examine network layer information, that is layer 3 information. What is layer 3 information? The source and destination IP address, and use routing tables and protocols to forward data packets to their destination efficiently. Hubs, switches, and firewalls serve different functions such as basic data transmissions, which is done by hubs, managing local network traffic, which is done by switches, and security filtering, which is done by firewalls. Question number 106. Which of these types of malware self-replicates without the need for human intervention? And the options are option A, worm, option B, Trojan, option C, virus, and option D, rootkit. And the correct option is option A, worm. So worm is the type of malware that self-replicates without any assistance from the human beings. So a worm is a type of malware that self-replicates and spread across network or system without requiring human intervention. Unlike viruses, which need to attach themselves to a host file or program, worms can independently propagate and often cause widespread damage by consuming network bandwidth or exploiting vulnerabilities. Trojan, viruses, and rootkit do not self-replicate in the same way. Question number 107. An ISC square member as an ISC square or as an ISC2 member, you are expected to perform with due care. What does due care specifically mean? Option A, do what is right in each situation you encounter on the job. Option B, give continuity to the legacy of security practices of your company. Option C, apply patches annually. And option D, researching and acquiring the knowledge to do your job right. And the correct option is Option A, do what is right in each situation you encounter on the job. So, do care refers to the expectation that professionals will act with reasonable caution, responsibility, and diligence in their duties. This means doing what is right in each situation and ensuring that decisions and actions are made to protect the security and well being of the organization and its assets. Question number 108. During the investigation of an incident, which security policies are more likely to cause difficulties? Option A, configuration standards. Option B, incident response policies. Option C, communication policies. Option D, retention policies. And the correct option is option D, retention policies. So, retention policies are more likely to cause difficulties during an incident investigation because they govern how long data is kept. If data retention periods are too short, critical evidence may be deleted before it can be used in the investigation. Conversely, overly long retention periods can create unnecessary data storage challenges. Other policies like incident response, communication, and configuration standards are designed to support investigations and are less likely to interfere with the process. Question number 109. In an access control list, that is ACL, the element that determines which permissions you have is option A, the subject, option B, the object, option C, the firmware, and option D, the rule. And the correct option is the rule. So the ACL basically consists of different rules. So in an access control list, that is ACL, the rule is the element that determines which permissions are granted to a subject, that is user or process, for a specific object, that is resource. The rule specifies the action that can be performed, such as read, write, or execute, and is used to control access to the object based on the subject's identity or attributes. Question number 110. What does the term data remnants refer to? Option A, data in use that cannot be encrypted. Option B, files saved locally that cannot be remotely accessed. Option C, data left over after routine removal and deletion. And option D, all of the data in a system. So the data remnants basically refers to option C, data left over after routine removal and deletion. So data remnants refers to the residual data that remains on storage media after it has been deleted or erased, which could potentially be recovered. Even after routine deletion processes, traces of data might still be present on the physical device, posing a security risk if sensitive information is not properly sanitized. Question number 111. Which type of recovery site has some or most system in place but does not have the data needed to take over operations? Option A, hard sites. Option B, a cloud site. Option C, a warm site. And option D, a cold site. So these are the different recovery site types. So which type of site is the one where systems are in place but data is not available for recovery to start the operations? And the correct option is option C, a warm site. So a warm site is a type of disaster recovery site that has some hardware and software systems in place, but it lacks the most recent data backups. This means that in the event of a disaster, it would take some time to restore the necessary data to the warm site before operations can resume. Here is a brief explanation of other options. A hard site. A hard site is fully operational and can take over operations immediately after a disaster. It has all the necessary hardware, software, and up-to-date data backups. A cloud site a cloud site leverages cloud computing resources to provide disaster recovery capabilities. It can be a hot, warm, or cold site depending on the specific configuration and data replication strategies. And a cold site is the least prepared type of disaster recovery site. It has the basic infrastructure such as power and network connectivity but lacks hardware, software, and data. It requires significant time and effort to set up and restore operations. Question number 112. Which of these is not a characteristic of an MSP implementation? I think MSP stands for Managed Security Provision. So let's see. And the options are manage all in-house company infrastructure. Option B, monitor and respond to security incidents. Option C, mediate, execute, and decide top-level decisions. And option D, utilize expertise for the implementation of a product or service. And the correct option is option A, manage all in-house company infrastructure. So MSP, that is managed service provider. So it is not managed security provision, it is managed service provider. Typically does not take over the entire management of a company's in-house infrastructure. Instead, they often focus on specific areas like network security, IT support, or cloud services. Their role is to provide expert assistance and manage these specific services, not to take over the full responsibility for all in-house infrastructure. Here is a brief explanation of the other options. Option B, monitor and respond to security incidents. This is a common function of an MSP as they often provide security services to their clients. Option C, mediate, execute, and decide top-level decisions. While an MSP might be involved in discussing and planning IT strategies, they typically do not make the final decision on high-level business or IT strategies. And option D, utilize expertise for the implementation of a product or service. This is a core function of an MSP, as they often provide specialized expertise to implement and manage various IT solutions. Question number 113. Which of these is not a typical component of a comprehensive business continuity plan, that is BCP? Option A, cost prediction of the immediate response procedures. Option B, immediate response procedures and checklists. Option C, notification systems and call trees for alerting personnel. And option D, a list of the BCP team members. And the correct option is option A, cost prediction of the immediate response procedures. So a comprehensive business continuity plan focuses on maintaining and restoring critical business operations during and after a disruption. It typically includes immediate response procedures, notification system, and a list of BCP team members. However, predicting the cost of immediate response procedures is not typically a component of the BCP, as the plan prioritizes actionable strategies over financial forecasting. Question number 114. Acting ethically is mandatory for ISC2 members. Which of these is not considered unethical? Option A, disrupting the intended use of the internet. Option B, seeking to gain unauthorized access to resources on the internet. Option C, compromising the privacy of users. And option D, having fake social media profiles and accounts. So the correct option is already highlighted, option D. So this is not unethical. to have fake social media profiles and accounts. While having fake social media profile and account may raise ethical question in certain contexts, it is not explicitly deemed unethical under ISC2's Code of Ethics. The other options, such as disrupting internet use, unauthorized access to resources, and compromising user privacy, are clear violations of ethical principle and may breach legal or organizational guidelines. Question number 115. In an incident response process, which phase uses indicators of compromise and log analysis as part of a review of events? Option A, preparation. Option B, eradication. Option C, identification. And option D, containment. And the correct option is option C, identification. So the identification phase in an incident response process involves detecting and analyzing potential security events to determine if an incident has occurred. This phase utilizes indicator of compromise, log analysis, and other tools to identify suspicious activities, assess the scope, and confirm the nature of the incident. Question number 116. Which of these access control systems is commonly used in the military? Option A, ABAC, that is attribute-based access control system. Option B, DAC, discretionary access control. Option C, RBAC, role-based access control. And option D, MAC, mandatory access control. And the correct option is MAC. So MAC, or mandatory access control, is basically used in the military. Mandatory access control is commonly used in military and government environments. It enforces strict control over access permissions based on security classifications, such as top secret or confidential. Users and resources are assigned labels, and access is granted based on these classifications, ensuring a high level of security and centralized control. Question number 117. Which of these is not a security principle? Option A, security in depth. Option B, zero trust model. Option C, least privilege. And option D, separation of duties. And the correct option is, so security in depth is not a security principle. In fact, the defense in depth is a security principle. So while defense in depth, not security in depth, is a recognized security principle, security in depth is not an established term or principle in cybersecurity. The other options, such as zero trust model, least privilege, and separation of duties, are widely recognized security principles that guide the implementation of effective security strategies. Question number 118. Which of these is not a common goal of a cybersecurity attacker? Option A, allocation. Option B, alteration. Option C, disclosure. And option D, denial. And the correct option is option A, allocation. So we have the basic pillar of cybersecurity is CIA, that is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And these are basically the attacker purpose is to destroy these. So confidentiality is compromised through disclosure, integrity is compromised through alteration, and availability is denied through compromise through denial or denial of service, while there is no such thing as allocation, that is the goal of a attacker. So allocation is not a common goal of a cybersecurity attacker. The primary goals of an attacker often aligns with the CIA triad, that is confidentiality, which is antonym with the disclosure, integrity, which if compromised results in alteration, and availability, which if compromised results in the denial. So these represent unauthorized access to sensitive information, which is confidentiality, tampering with data, that is alteration, and disrupting service availability, that is denial, respectively. Question number 119, which of these types of layers is not part of TCP/IP model? Option A, application, option B, physical, option C, internet, and option D, transport. And the correct option is physical. So physical layer is not the part of TCP/IP model. Remember, we are not talking about OSI layers. Physical layer is in fact part of the OSI layers, which have 7 layers, while the TCP/IP model is, I think it has 4 layers. So the explanation is that the physical layer is not part of the TCP/IP model, it is part of the OSI model. The TCP/IP model consists of 4 layers. That is, number 1 is application, number 2 transport, number 3 internet, and number 4 network access. So the physical layer, which deals with the hardware and transmission media, is covered under the network access layer in the TCP/IP model. Question number 120, on a BYOD model, that is bring your own device, which of these technologies is best suited to keep corporate data and applications separate from personnel? Option A, biometrics, option B, full device encryption, option C, context-aware authentication, and option D, containerization. And the correct option is option D, containerization. So containerization is the best technology for keeping corporate data and applications separate from personal data on a bring your own device model. It allows organizations to isolate corporate apps and data within a secure container on the device, ensuring that personal apps and data are kept separate. This helps maintain security without compromising the personal use of the device. Other options like biometrics, full device encryption, and context-aware authentication enhance security but do not provide the same level of separation as containerization. Question number 121. In the context of risk management, which information does ALE outline? So ALE is the analyzed loss expectancy, or you can also say that it is the annual loss expectancy in the context of risk management. So what does this mean, annual loss expectancy? Option A, the expected cost per year of not performing a given risk mitigation action. Option B, the business impact of a risk. Option C, the percentage of asset loss efficiency. And option D, the probability of risk coming to pass in a given year. And the correct option is option A, the expected cost per year of not performing a given risk mitigation action. So ALE, that is annualized loss expectancy, is a risk management metric that outlines the expected cost per year of a risk event occurring if no mitigation action is taken. It is calculated by multiplying the single loss expectancy by the annual rate of occurrence. So annualized loss expectancy helps organizations understand the potential financial impact of a risk and make informed decisions about risk mitigation. Question number 122. Which of these techniques is primarily used to ensure data integrity? Option A, message digest. Option B, content encryption. Option C, backups. And option D, hashing. And the correct option is message digest. So the explanation is that here I think the correct option is the hashing. The explanation is for hashing, so the correct option is hashing, not the message digest. They both are related, message digest is created using hashing. So you can say that the integrity is done through the process of hashing, and message digest is the one type of procedure through which you can ensure integrity. And the other options such as encryption, it is for confidentiality, and backup, it is for availability, not integrity. So the explanation for hashing is that hashing is primarily used to ensure data integrity. A hash function produces a fixed side output that is hash value from input data, and any change in the data will result in a different hash value. By comparing the hash values before and after transmissions or storage, you can verify that the data has not been altered or corrupted. While message digest, a type of hash, also play a role in data integrity, hashing is the broader technique. Content encryption ensures confidentiality and backups provide data availability, but they do not specifically ensure data integrity. Question number 1 to 3. Which of these is an example of a privacy breach? Option A, any observable occurrence in a network or system. Option B, being exposed to the possibility of attack. Option C, unavailability of critical systems. And option D, access of private information by an unauthorized person. And the correct option is option D, access of private information by an unauthorized person. So a privacy breach occurs when private or personal information is accessed, disclosed, or used by someone who is not authorized to do so. This directly violates the confidentiality of the data, which is a key aspect of privacy. The other options describe potential security incidents or disruptions but do not specifically involve a privacy violation. Question number 1 to 4. Which of these terms refer to a collection of fixes? Option A, downgrade. Option B, patch. Option C, service pack. And option D, hot fix. And the correct option is option C, service pack. So a service pack refers to a collection of updates, fixes, and enhancements that are bundled together and released as a single package. It typically includes multiple patches and hard fixes for known issues. While a patch is a single update to fix a specific issue, a hard fix is an emergency fix often deployed to address a critical issue, and a downgrade refers to the process of reverting software to an earlier version. Question number 1 to 5. While performing background checks on new employees, which of these can never be an attribute for discrimination? Option A, employment history, reference, and criminal records. Option B, credit history, employment history, and references. Option C, criminal records, credit history, and references. And option D, references, education, political affiliation, and employment history. And the correct option is option D, references, education, political affiliation, and employment history. So political affiliation can never be used as a legitimate attribute during background checks, as it is considered a protected characteristic in many jurisdictions, including under anti-discrimination laws. Using political affiliation to make employment decisions could result in discrimination. The other options, while they may include valid attributes for background checks, should be carefully reviewed to ensure that they comply with relevant laws and are used only for job relevant purposes. Question number 1 to 6. When looking for cyber security insurance, which of these is the most important objective? Option A, risk acceptance. Option B, risk transference. Option C, risk avoidance. And option D, risk spreading. And the correct option is through cybersecurity insurance, we actually transfer the risk to a third party, that is basically the insurance provider. So the most important objective when looking for cybersecurity insurance is the risk transference. This refers to transferring the financial burden of a cybersecurity incident, such as a data breach or cyber attack, to an insurance company. By doing so, an organization can mitigate the financial impact of security risks. Risk acceptance means acknowledging risk and deciding to bear them without mitigation. Risk avoidance involves eliminating activities or systems that introduce risk, and risk spreading refers to spreading risk across various assets or operations, but it's not the primary goal of cybersecurity insurance. Question number 1 to 7. Which kind of document outlines the procedures ensuring that vital company systems keep running during business disrupting events? Option A, business impact analysis. Option B, business impact plan. Option C, business continuity plan. And option D, disaster recovery plan. And the correct option is option C, business continuity plan. So a business continuity plan outlines the procedures to ensure that critical company systems continue to operate during business disrupting events such as natural disasters, cyber attacks, or other emergencies. It focuses on maintaining essential business functions during and after disruptions. While business impact analysis, this helps identify and prioritize critical business functions and the impact of their disruption, but it is not the plan itself. Disaster recovery plan, a more specific subset of business continuity plan that focuses on restoring IT systems and data after a disaster. And the business impact plan, not a commonly used term but could be mistaken for a business continuity plan or business impact analysis. Question number 1 to 8. Which of these social engineering attacks sends emails that target specific individuals? Option A, farming. Option B, whaling. Option C, wishing. And option D, spear phishing. And the correct option is option D, spear phishing. So spear phishing is the type of social engineering attack where specific individuals are targeted. Whaling is also a related term, but it is the type of attack where the top executives such as CEO of the company or CFO of the companies are targeted. So spear phishing is a targeted social engineering attack where emails are sent to specific individuals or organizations, often using personalized information to make the attack more convincing. This is different from regular phishing, which is typically sent to a broad group of people. Whaling is a form of spear phishing, but specifically targets high-profile individuals like executives. So, since whale is a big fish, that's why it targets the big fish. Wishing involves phishing attacks that are conducting over the phone. V here is for voice. It is done through voice communication rather than through email. Farming redirects users to fake websites to steal sensitive information, but it does not rely on emails targeting specific individuals. Question number 1 to 9. Which of these properties is not guaranteed by message authentication code, that is MAC? And the options are option A, authenticity, option B, anonymity, option C, integrity, and option D, non-repudiation. And the correct option is option B, anonymity. So a message authentication code, that is MAC, is used to verify the authenticity and integrity of a message, ensuring that the message has not been tampered with and that it originates from a trusted sender. However, anonymity is not a property guaranteed by a MAC. A MAC does not conceal the identity of the sender or recipient, which means it does not ensure anonymity. Authenticity guarantees that the message comes from the claimed sender. Integrity ensures that the message has not been altered during transmission. And non-repudiation, while MACs can help support non-repudiation by confirming the sender's identity and message integrity, they do not fully guarantee non-repudiation because the sender could still deny sending the message without additional measures like digital signatures. Question number 130. What is the primary objective of degassing? Option A, preventing magnetic side channel attacks. Option B, reducing noisy data on a disk. Option C, erasing the data on a disk. And option D, retaining the data on a disk. And the correct option is, so degassing is basically used to erase the data on a disk, but it is specifically used and is effective against magnetic disk. This procedure, degassing, is not effective against other type of disks such as SSDs. So it is only effective against magnetic disks. So the primary objective of degassing is to erase data on a disk by disrupting the magnetic fields that store the data. This is typically done to securely wipe data from magnetic storage devices, making it irretrievable. Preventing magnetic side channel attacks is not the main purpose of degassing, it's more focused on data erasure. Reducing noisy data on a disk is not related to degassing. Degassing is about data destruction, not noise reduction. While retaining data on the disk is the opposite of degassing, which is intended to erase or destroy data. Question number 131. Which of these is part of the canons, that is ISC2 Code of Ethics? Option A, provide diligent and competent services to stakeholders. Option B, advance and protect the profession. Option C, prevent and detect unauthorized use of digital assets in a society. And option D, act always in the best interest of your client. And the correct option is advance and protect the profession is one of the canons of the ISC2. So ISC2 has 4 canons and this is one of them. The ISC2 Code of Ethics includes principles such as advancing and protecting the profession of cybersecurity. The canons of the ISC2 Code of Ethics provides guidance on how members should act professionally and ethically in their roles. So the specific canons are, so these are the 4 canons. Number 1, protect society, the common good, necessary public trust and confidence, and the infrastructure. Number 2, act honorably, honestly, justly, responsibly, and legally. Number 3, provide diligent and competent service to principals. And number 4, advance and protect the professions. So these are the 4 canons, and this order is also important. So if you are given 2 choices, let's suppose if you are given this choice and this choice and you have to do one thing, then you must do this one because it comes first and the advance and protecting the profession comes last. So the order of this canon is also important. Question number 132. Which of these is not one of the ISC2 ethics canons? So remember, as I already told in the earlier question, that these canons should be memorized and learned, including their order, so that you can answer any question inside your exam on these canons. So which of these is not a ISC2 canon? Let's go to the correct option directly, and this is consider the social consequences of the system you are designing. And other, as we already read in the previous questions, are all the canons of the ISC2. So while considering the social consequence of the system you are designing is an important ethical consideration, it is not one of the official canons of the ISC Square Code of Ethics. The actual canons of the ISC Square Code of Ethics are, as I already went through in the previous question, I won't repeat it, but again you should learn these canons and in this specific order. Question number 133, which of these is the primary objective of the PCI-DSS standard? PCI is Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. And the options are option A, personally identifiable information, option B, change management, option C, secure credit card payments, and option D, protected health information. And the correct option is option C. So the primary objective of this standard is to secure credit card payments. So the PCI-DSS, that is Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, is primarily focused on securing on securing the credit card payments. Its purpose is to ensure that all companies handling credit cards information maintains a secure environment to protect cardholder data from breaches and fraud. Option A, personally identifiable information. While PII protection is important, PSI DSS specifically aimed at credit card data, not general PII. Similarly, the option B, change management. This is a broader IT security practice, but it is not the primary focus of the PSI DSS. And option D, protected health information. PHI is governed by HIPAA, that is Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, not PSI DSS. Question number 134, which of these is an attack that encrypts the organization information and then demands payment for the decryption code? Option A, phishing. Option B, DDoS, that is distributed denial of service. Option C, spoofing. And option D, ransomware. And the correct option is, this is a very popular type of attack where the attacker encrypts the user files or data and demands ransom money in exchange for the decryption key. And this attack is called as ransomware. So ransomware is a type of malicious software or malware that encrypts an organization's data, making it inaccessible, and then demands a ransom from the victim to restore access to the data by providing the decryption key. Other options, including phishing, a technique used to trick individuals into providing sensitive information such as usernames, passwords, or financial details, often through deceptive emails or websites. Option B, DDoS, that is distributed denial of service, an attack that overwhelms a system or network with a flood of traffic, making it unavailable but does not involve data encryption. And option C, spoofing, the act of impersonating another user or system to gain unauthorized access to a system or data, but it does not involve encryption or ransom. Question number 135, the primary objective of a business continuity plan is option A, to regularly verify whether the organization complies with applicable regulations. Option B, to sustain business operations while recovering from a disruption. Option C, to assess the impact of disruption to the business. And option D, to restore the business to the full last known reliable state of operations. And the correct option is, so the primary objective of the business continuity plan is to sustain business operation while recovering from a disruption or a disaster. The primary objective of a business continuity plan, that is BCP, is to ensure that essential business operations can continue during and after a disruption. The plan focuses on sustaining critical functions even in the face of significant challenges like natural disaster or cyber attack, and then recovering fully. Other options, such as option A, to regularly verify whether the organization complies with applicable regulations. This is more related to compliance management and auditing, not the primary goal of a BCP. Option C, to assess the impact of disruption to the business. This is typically part of the business impact analysis process, which helps in developing a BCP but is not the plan's primary objective. And option D, to restore the business to the full last known reliable state of operations. Restoration is part of recovery, but the primary goal is to keep operations running while recovering. Question number 136. Which of these is an attack whose primary goal is to gain access to a target system through falsified identity? Option A, ransomware. Option B, amplification. Option C, spoofing. And option D, distributed denial of service. And the correct option is option C, spoofing. So spoofing is an attack in which the attacker falsifies their identity to gain unauthorized access to a target system. This can involve impersonating another user, device, or system to deceive the target into granting access. Example include IP spoofing, email spoofing, or DNS spoofing. Ransomware encrypts data to demand a ransom. Amplification, which is option B, increases the impact of an attack like DDoS, and the DDoS, which is option D, aims to disrupt services rather than gaining access through identity falsification. Question number 137. When an incident occurs, which of these is not primary responsibility of an organization's response team? Option A, determining the scope of the damage caused by the incident. Option B, implementing the recovery procedure necessary to restore security and recover from any incident-related damage. Option C, determining whether any confidential information has been compromised over the course of the entire incident. And option D, communicating with top management regarding the circumstances of the cybersecurity event. And the correct option is option D, communicating with top management regarding the circumstances of the cybersecurity event. So while communicating with top management is important, it is not the primary responsibility of the response team during an incident. The team's main focus is on identifying the scope of the damage, implementing recovery procedures, and determining if any confidential information was compromised. Coordinating with top management typically falls under incident reporting or public relations teams after the immediate technical response is handled. Question number 138. What is the primary objective of a rollback in the context of the change management process? Option A, identify the required changes needed. Option B, validate the system change process. Option C, restore the system to its last state before the change was made. And option D, establish a minimum understood and acceptable level of security requirements. And the correct option is option C, restore the system to its last state before the change was made. So the primary objective of a rollback in change management is to restore the system to its previous stable state if the implemented change causes issues or fail validation. This ensures business continuity and minimizes disruption. Other options focus on broader aspects of change management but are not the direct purpose of a rollback. Question number 139. Which of these entities is responsible for signing an organization's policies? Option A, human resources. Option B, security engineer. Option C, financial department. And option D, senior management. And the correct option is option D, senior management. So senior management is responsible for signing an organization's policies because they have the authority to approve and enforce them across the organization. Their endorsement demonstrates commitment and ensures accountability, while departments like human resources or the financial department may help draft or implement policies. Final approval rests with senior management. Question number 140. Which of these terms refer to threat with unusually high technical and operational sophistication spanning months or even years? Option A, rootkit. Option B, APT, that is advanced persistent threat. Option C, side channel. And option D, ping of death. And the correct option is option B, APT, that is advanced persistent threat. So an advanced persistent threat, that is APT, refers to a highly sophisticated and persistent cyber attack conducted over an extended period, often by skilled threat actors like nation states or organized groups. These attacks aim to steal sensitive information or disrupt operations while evading detection. Rootkits, that is option A, are tools to maintain access. Side channel attacks, that is option C, exploit system vulnerabilities indirectly. And ping of death is a type of denial of service attack. Question number 141. The primary objective of a security baseline is to establish option A minimum understood and good level of security requirements. Option B, a minimum understood and acceptable level of security requirements. Option C, security and configuration requirements. And option D, a maximum understood and acceptable level of security requirements. And the correct option is option B, a minimum understood and acceptable level of security requirements. So the primary objective of a security baseline is to define a minimum set of security requirements that are both understood and acceptable. This ensures that all systems meet an agreed upon level of protection, reducing vulnerabilities and maintaining consistency across the organization. Question number 142. Which of these attacks take advantage of inadequate input validation in websites? Option A, phishing. Option B, Trojans. Option C, cross-site scripting. And option D, rootkits. And the correct option is cross-site scripting. So cross-site scripting attacks exploit inadequate input validation on websites, allowing attackers to inject malicious scripts into web pages viewed by other users. This can result in unauthorized access to sensitive information or user sessions, while other options such as phishing deceive user into providing credential. Trojans, which is option B, are malicious software, and rootkits, which is option D, hide malware activity, but they do not involve website input validation flaws. Question number 143. An organization needs a network security tool that detects and acts in the event of malicious activity. Which of these tools will best meet their needs? Option A, router. Option B, IPS, that is intrusion prevention system. Option C, IDS, intrusion detection system. And option D, firewall. And the correct option is option B, IPS, intrusion prevention system. So an intrusion prevention system not only detects malicious activity but also actively takes action to block or mitigate threats in real time. In contrast, an intrusion detection system only monitors and alerts without intervention, while firewalls and routers focus on controlling traffic and enforcing policies but are not specifically designed to detect and act against intrusions. Question number 144. In a DAC, that is discretionary access control policy scenario, which of these tasks can only be performed by a subject granted access to information? Option A, changing security attributes. Option B, reading the information. Option C, executing the information. And option D, modifying the information. And the correct option is option A, changing the security attributes. So in a discretionary access control policy, only the subject, such as the owner of the information, with the appropriate permissions can modify security attributes such as access rights or permissions for others. Other options like reading, executing, or modifying the information can be performed by subjects granted access, but changing security attributes is specifically reserved for the owner or authorized administrator. Question number 145. In the event of non-compliance, which of these can have considerable financial consequences for an organization? Option A, policies. Option B, regulation. Option C, guidelines. And option D, standards. And the correct option is regulations. So non-compliance to the regulations can have financial consequences such as fines and penalties from the regulating authorities. So non-compliance with regulations which are legally enforceable rules set by governing bodies can result in significant financial consequences for organizations, including fines, penalties, or lawsuits. Policies, standards are internal or industry defined and lack legal enforcement, while guidelines are advisory in nature. So that's all for this video. Please subscribe and stay tuned for the next video. Thank you and see you soon.